So when we discuss measures of center, a measure of center is a number which can describe all of the data. So, or in other words, the center of the data. So if I were to ask you to summarize the ages of people in the room, that would be telling you a center of the ages of people in the room. So, or like, if let's say I could only buy one size of t-shirt for everyone in the room, you'd have to give the center of everybody in the room, or maybe shoe size or stuff like that. So you have three choices essentially. You could do the mean, the median, or the mode. Now, generally in school, if you've had grade point average is the mean. So they use mean to calculate your grades. Are there any, would you guys argue perhaps that you could use median to calculate your score? Like, let's say you had a 95% on one test and 85% on another test, maybe a 90, and then a 60. Maybe you had a bad day. Or maybe one topic you just didn't understand. You, as a student, would you argue that the teacher should use mean or median to calculate your grade? What do you think the teacher should use? Davian?
I probably would prefer to use the median because it's going to be higher than the mean in this case.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think the median would be higher than the mean? Go ahead, calculate the mean. I asked you guys all to grab the calculator. Let's test his hypothesis. Find the mean, or the average test score. What'd you get? Isabel? 82.5. So it would report that for this mark period, your test average was 82.5%. Now let's compare that to the median. For median, you do have to put it in order first. So you do 95, 90, 85, and 60. Now the median is the middle data point. The middle data point is not actually going to be a data point, it's going to be in between two data points. So Isabel, what would that be? 85.5? Yeah, 87.5. What is there for ink here? 87.5 would be the median. So Davion was definitely correct that the median would be a better choice if you wanted to argue. I would prefer to use the median test score for the class or for my tests. Now, do you think it's valid to use the median over the average? Or, I don't know. So, you guys, when we look at grades for the class, like when I look at how well people do on the test, I look at both the median and the mean, because the mean has the benefit of taking into account all the scores, okay? All of these scores are considered when you calculate the mean. But what the median does is it kind of balances out really, really low scores or really, really high scores and just shows you what the middle of the field looks like. So if I want to know, hey, what about the middle kid? What is the middle kid doing here? I would look at the median. But if I want to consider all of the kids, their exact score, I look at the mean. So let's say you're moving to a different state, like you're going to Colorado, and you wanted to decide, can I afford to live there? Do you think when they report home prices that they look at median or mean? Do you think they take the average of what all the house costs, or do you think they put the house costs in order and then find the middle one. What do you think they do there? Isabel? Yeah, they actually consider the median, because if you guys have ever been, certain neighborhoods, they can have really expensive homes and then really inexpensive homes that aren't really typical of the neighborhood. So they kind of, those get kind of ignored when you look at the median, because you're just looking at the typical home price. Also with salaries, they report the median salary. So median is actually used quite a bit. Mean is also used quite a bit, whenever we look at grade point averages, tests, the average, oh man, it's used all the time. When is mode used? You never hear mode like reported, in the news or, statistics. Denise?
I guess when somebody's using it to count when they vote or something, you kind of see what has the most.
Yeah, voting is a great example of mode. Whatever gets the most gets, elected, gets the vote. Also, let's say if I had you guys measure this wall, okay? And let's say 10 of you said the wall was exactly 15 feet long, and then the rest of you got something slightly off 15 feet, slightly greater or slightly less. 15 feet would be the mode, but because the majority of you got 15 feet, that would be what I would go with for the length of this wall. So mode is used for voting, for measurement, but not oftentimes for reporting and other things. So what I would like us to do now, we know finding the mean is adding them up and dividing. Let's find the mean of this data set. This is also what is listed on your paper. Make sure we all get the same thing. And then find the median and find the mode. And as you do this, I'm going to give you some symbols so that when we learn to do it with our graphing calculator, you will know what the calculator notes is the mean, what they note is the median, and a whole bunch of other things it will tell you. So did anyone get the sum? What they got when they added all of them up? Denise? 143. 143. Did anyone else get 143 when you added them all up? Okay, good. So the symbol for sum is actually a Greek letter. It's a capital letter, sigma. And so sum of all the values, and so they call all the values x, that's called the statistical variable. So the sum, so if you guys could write this down just so you know what all the symbols mean. This is the sum, was 143. So the mean, or average, in the calculator, and when you get into a AP stats or stats in college, they can note that by a bar above it. So all of these data points are called X, all the different values there, all the beats per minute that we measured were the different X's, all the different years were the X's. So the mean is X bar, that's the symbol used to show mean, and that is the sum of the values divided by the number of values, and n is the number of values that there are. So in this case, the sum was 143. How many values did we have? Okay. And then what was the mean? Brenda?
Approximately
17.75.
875.
Okay.
I said approximately 17.9.
Okay. 17.9 is our mean. And then to consider the median, you do have to put the data in order. It would not make any sense otherwise. So we will do that. The convention is to go least to greatest, so I'll do that. So, Isabel? 18.5, good. So the goal for the median is to find the middle number. The median will split the data in half. And so I always like to note the median. The median will either be a number or it will be between two numbers. And in this case, the median is between two numbers. So you can either consider what is halfway between 18 and 19. Halfway between 18 and 19 is 18 and a half. Or you can add these together and divide by 2. Adding them together and dividing by 2, you'd also get 18.5. And the calculator denotes median by just MED, so it's really easy to find. And lastly, the mode is the number that occurs most frequently. So in this case, the mode is going to be 20. And unfortunately, the calculators will not calculate mode for you, but I will show you a way to find mode using another technique. Okay. Any questions on that? TJ?
So there can be multiple modes?
Yes, that is correct. There can be multiple modes. And I'm going to demonstrate how many modes there can be really shortly. So the median, we have a method for finding the median. Just something to keep track of. If there's an odd number of values, it's going to be the middle number. Even number of values is the number between the two middle values. So that's median. Now, yeah, we already did that. And then mode, as DJ asked, you can have more than one mode. You can have 2 modes, or you can have 3 modes. If you have more than 3 modes, you just say no mode. So let's say you had data where, for example, and we already found the middle mode of this data was 20, but let's say I had another 17 and another 18, okay? If I had another 17 and another 18, that means I would have trimodal data because I have 3 modes, and my modes would be 17, 18, and 20. Those would all be considered modes because those all occur most frequently. They all occur more than all the rest of the data. But let's say I had a third 20. If I add on a 20, then 20 would just be the mode because 20 would occur the most frequently. Now, again, if you have more than 3 modes, it's just too spread out, so you would just say no mode in that case. Nothing really jumps out at you. Great. Questions on mode? So now we get to kind of the problem-solving part of this. This is like the number 2 on our note sheet. Create a data set of 6 values that meets the following criteria. Davian?
I have a question about the mode.
Okay.
Is it like, to what scale? What if it's like 100 and only 4 popping out? Do you still?
So you have 100 set numbers to look at. And then say the second part again.
And it's 4. They got, it's basically 4 modes.
So then you say no mode.
Still?
Yeah.
Even if it's,
Yeah, it doesn't matter how big the set. That's a good question. All right. So now we get to the problem-solving part of it. The other part is very procedural because you're just following a formula. Either you're adding them up and dividing by the number of numbers, or you're putting the data in order, or you're just identifying the mode. This is a little more tricky because you're having to solve a problem. So they tell you that there are 6 values, so you're looking for 6 data points. You know the median, you know the maximum, you know the range, and you know the mean, and you have to find the 6 data points which satisfy this requirement, for all these 4 requirements. All right, so it's kind of like a puzzle. Right? So does anyone have an idea of where we would start? Talisa?
We would do the maximum first.
Okay. And so in doing that, I'm going to actually put a line for each of the 6 data points just so I can kind of fill in those blanks. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are our 6 data points. And I know the highest number is 6. I'm sorry, 15. So I'm going to put that 15 right there. So these could be like ages of people in a family. For example, if you had a family of 6 kids, the eldest person would be 15. Anything else we could fill in then? Okay, you have another one, Lisa?
Yeah, define the minimum, subtract 15.
Yeah, so to find the minimum is the maximum minus the range. Okay, so we know that the range equals max minus min. So if our maximum is 12, 15, and our range is 12, you have to ask yourself, 15 minus what number is 12? And yeah, we get 3. So that means the youngest kid in this family is 3. So we can fill that in here. So far, we have 2 of our ages of kids in the family. Logan?
Find the median, couldn't you do 6 and 8, and the middle would be 7?
Okay, so you guys want to try 6 and 8. Is there anything else we could write besides 6 and 8, Isaac? Okay, so we could do 6 and 8. We could write 7 and 7. Because the median or the middle number needs to be a 7. You'll write that in a different color so it stands out. So in other words, the number halfway between the numbers on either side of this middle line has to be 7. So 6 and 8 would work. 7 and 7 obviously would have 7. Anything else? Yep.
Can the numbers on the line be decimals?
They could, but generally when you report ages, you know, I'm not exactly my age, but I will say the whole number.
I was thinking 6.5 and 7.5.
Yeah, for sure. You could do that. So we can keep both of these in mind. You could even do 5 and 9. Okay, 5 and 9 would work, because when you think of 5 and 9, I'm just going one out in either direction from 6 and 8. That's how I'm thinking about it. Because the number halfway between 5 and 9 is 7, Maggie?
How'd you get 6 and 8?
Because you're thinking, so the median has to be 7. And so you're thinking of 2 numbers where if you took their average, you get 7. So you could pick 7 and 7. You could pick 6 and 8, 5 and 9. We could even do 4 and 10. You know, going one out from there. The only thing we can't do is we can't go further. It can't be less than the minimum or greater than the maximum, right? So we'll keep all these in mind. What haven't we considered? Davian?
We gotta, I know. Oh, wait up.
Okay,
Can I finish?
you can tell me now.
Oh, okay. So, we gotta find the two numbers that's missing.
Right?
So, and then, we know the mean is 8, and we know, it's only 6 numbers, so we can just multiply 8 by 6, and then you get 48, and then you add all the numbers together. I did 7 and 7, 15 and 50, and then you get 31, and then you subtract 31 from 48, and then you get 17, and then you could get 7 and 10, and then you get your answer.
You said it's 7 and 10.
You don't gotta get 7. You could fit 6 and 11.
Okay. All right, so let me walk you through what he was describing. So to consider the mean, you have to consider that mean is the sum over the number of numbers. And we know there are 6 numbers. So the sum of all the numbers over 6, which is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data points, has to equal 8. So one way you can use being given the mean is you can write the mean equation, which is sum divided by number of numbers, and that equals 8. Then we can solve that equation for the sum, and then we know what all the numbers have to add up to. And if we know what all the numbers have to add up to, you can find out what this number here that's missing plus this number has to be. So to solve, I have a number divided by 6 equals 8. So you can either just guess what divided by 6 equals 8, or you can multiply both sides by 6. And then on the left side, the 6's would cancel. And so then you get the sum equals 48. Meaning, all the numbers have to add up to 48. Questions on that part of it? DJ?
Why did you divide by 6?
Because there were 6 numbers. So it says the data set is 6 values. So remember, to find the mean, add all the numbers up, and you divide by the number of numbers there are. So it's the sum divided by however many numbers there are. So that's that 6. So the sum of the numbers is 48, but so far, if we go for the 6 and the 8, if we choose to do that one, and if it doesn't work, we can go back and choose something else. But let's choose to do the 6 and the 8. If we choose that one, so far our sum is 9, because we have 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. 17 plus 15 is 32. So I added these up. So far, my sum so far is 32. Questions on that part of it? So I know the sum has to be 48, but my sum so far is 32. So this value plus this value has to be how much? How much do I have left over? Brendan?
16.
16. So good, I have 16 left over. 16 left over. And you have to meet the requirement that this number has to be somewhere between 6 and 3. It can be 6 and 3. And this has to be somewhere between 8 and 15. All right? Logan?
Could I say the numbers?
Sure.
4 and 12.
So 4 and 12 add up to 16. So that is one possibility. Any other possibilities? Charlize? 6 and 10. Is it okay to use 6 twice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 and 10. DJ?
5 and 11.
5 and 11. So I'm going to get rid of the 7 and 7 because we went with the 6 and the 8. So they have to add up to 16. Isabel?
3 and 15.
3 and 13. Okay. Brennan? 7 and 9. So I see one problem with the 7 and 9. Yeah, and if it was there, would that change anything? Yeah. So is that a problem? Yeah. So, yeah, it would definitely, though, still add up to 16. So you'd still meet your mean requirement, but it would then mess up your median requirement. So this needs to stay the same, and if you pick a number bigger than the 6, then your median changes. Okay, but that was a good idea. So there are multiple answers. So you could have 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 15, 3, 6, 6, 8, 10, 15, 3, 5, 6, 8, 11, 15, or 3, 3, 6, 8, 13, 15. Okay, so you could go along any of those lines, and you still have a minimum of 3, which you need because the range has to be 12. You still have a maximum of 15. They all need to add up to 48 because then the sum divided by 6 would be 8, and the median still has to be 7. You also could have picked two middle numbers of 7 and 7. You could have picked two middle numbers of 5 and 9. Those would work, but then you'd be limiting your choices of what you could put in on the other sides. Because if these numbers change in here, you limit what you can put on either side because they have to go in order. All right, so multiple answers, but you know how to find median and mode, so you know how to check them. Are there questions on that? So my main suggestion for you is put a line for each data point that you have. You have 6, put 6 lines, and then fill in every piece of information you know right away first. And then you can start messing with the mean, because the mean is the thing that will tell you the sum. And once you know the sum, you can fill in the missing numbers. Questions on that? So this is where it gets a little fun. And this kind of takes us through the whole steps. We started with 15. We found 3 by subtracting. The sum, we decided to do 6 and 8. And then those had to add up to 16. So what I'm going to do now is have you guys work on your assignment. For this particular assignment, you can do the work on the paper if you find